Hello everyone, here is your tutorial on hemming. Now before I start making stitches on the fabric, you need to decide which kind of hem stitch you're going to do, and that's based on what kind of fabric and how you want it to look on the other side and how you want it to look inside. First, you have to figure out how big you want this hem to be. So when you fold up your fabric, mark where that edge is and then decide, do you want a 2-inch hem, a 1-inch hem, 1.5? I like a hem that's a little more than an inch. And what I've done here is my raw edge. So if I want an inch hem, I have to add about a 1/2 inch to that because I'm going to fold that raw edge up and press not only that edge, but press where my hem is going to finally end. The other way to deal with a raw edge of fabric is to use a pair of pinking shears, and they create this jagged looking edge. I have put a machine stitch on the edge of this one to also secure it. Pinking shears will help to keep fabric from fraying, particularly a more fine fabric like this one. And lots of things are serged these days. If you have a serger, it's a great way to give you an edge that's not going to fray. We are not going to start with that blind stitch. We're going to start with the hemming stitch. So you're going to work from the right to the left, and you're going to secure your knot inside, either inside the fold or on the pinked edge. And then you can choose, do you want this stitch to look like a little vertical line where you catch just a little bit of thread on the face of the fabric and then slide it underneath your fold. So I'm going right down where I came up before. And I'm going a little bit to the left. And so I'm getting this very delicate look on the back, and on the front you get just a tiny little bit of thread showing, and if your thread matches it won't show at all. Now I rarely have the time to make very careful stitches like this, and so usually I'm going to fold my fabric over my finger and I'm going to catch, and sometimes I'll do it that way. Most of the time I don't have that much time, so I'm going to not go right down there. I'm going to go over here, catch, and come straight up, and then go over here, catch the front, come straight up, and there you get this little diagonal line on the outside, on the inside. Straight up, catch, and go straight up into my fold. And then you get a little tiny, it looks like you're doing a very, very wide basting stitch out here, but it still goes away enough. So that's one way to use that stitch for hemming. Now the blind stitch, and we'll do the blind stitch from over here. The blind stitch is similar, a little different, and I'm going to start it right here. I'm going to anchor my knot and cut off the long piece. It's not dangling. And I'm going to fold the fabric over like this so that just a little bit of the fold of the hem shows, and I can work both edges more easily. And I'm just going to catch a tiny little bit on the front and then go over to the left a little bit, and then a tiny little bit from the front and go over, and I'm just coming up on the fold so that if you come up inside the fold, I'll show you what that does. So I'm just catching a little bit of the face. Sometimes it doesn't want to be caught. And then I'm going over here through the fold, and what happens is that all of your stitching on the back disappears. There are times when you don't want that stitching to show, and it only shows a little bit on the front. So that's the blind stitch. I'll do a couple more stitches for you so that you can see. So you're going to go here, catch that, and then through the fold, and catch a little bit on your face and through the fold again. And when you fold it up like this, you can see where your stitches are. But when you fold it back, you can't see those stitches at all. Sometimes this is really good if you're working on very fine fabrics. So I'm going to flip over here and do a little blind stitching on the edge that's been pinked. That has a knot on it. And again, I'm going to catch the hem on the inside. I've got the fabric folded over so that here's my outside of the fabric. There's my hem. I'm folding it just so that those little jagged edges are showing. I'm going to catch just a little couple threads, and then a couple threads. So this one shows more on the outside, but not so much. When I was first learning to sew, there was no serger available to the general public, and everything was pinked. So whether you were sewing stitches, whether you were hemming, or whether you were securing your seams so they didn't fray, everything was pinked with the pinking shears. So that is, this takes a little while to get used to doing it. And with my black thread, you can see a little bit of picking here, but I don't have threads showing on the front very much. So that's that blind stitch. And again, it kind of goes away. It looks like that. Now, I left my sample catch stitch in here so you can see where we're going from the beginning. This is what the catch stitch looks like. It's that X stitch that we were doing in class, and it works from the left to the right. All the other hems go from the right to the left. This one goes from the left to the right. And it works flat as opposed to being folded. Here I'm going to put my pins facing along my fabric. And maybe vary the points so I don't jab myself. And the catch stitch, you anchor your knot underneath the hem, and this is a great stitch to use if you're working on thick wool or fleece or something that you really have to anchor a raw edge. So I'm catching it. When you start with your knot, you're going to be coming up on that part. Oop, there we go. On that part of your X. And you're going to come to the top first. Actually, you're going to go to the bottom first. Then catch one thread. And then come up. So your needle is always going in backwards. The first couple look a little strange. And then you get your X going. See? catching just one or two threads and a couple threads up here and one or two. Now when you're doing embroidery, this stitch is used a lot, but it's larger. It's a cousin to cross stitching. And there you go. That's what that catch stitch looks like. So sometimes they're very even and sometimes I don't make them so evenly, but that's what the catch stitch is. So we've got catch stitch, blind stitch, you've got your regular hemming stitch, and then the blind stitch with a fold. So that's your hemming stitches, and I will be back with buttons and snaps and hooks and eyes.